What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Mighty Mornings. We got a good one today. Yo, Joe. It's gonna be a good episode. It is one of my favorite cartoons that growing up as a kid and Action Line. I gotta bring in. Speaking of action, I gotta bring in my buddy. He is loving All American Muscle. He loves All American Muscle. Those are AAA beef daddies. There's my friend Christopher.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
First of
let's
all, it's the real Canadian muscle.
a little bit of maple leaf muscle.
Oh
How's
my
it
God.
going? Morning.
I am good. We are back from a little bit of a break, so it's good
Yes.
to be back.
Yeah, we celebrated. We enjoyed the long weekend. It was good. It's good to get a little break here and there, and we're gonna touch on to have a little break in a bit. But yeah, it kind of recharges the batteries a little bit, right?
Oh God, yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked about anything retro in a long time, so it's just like, let's do this.
Yes. Today we're talking about, if you didn't notice from the actual intro, is
Gem and the holograms.
Barbie Army edition.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're talking about GI Joe, one of the biggest cartoon and action figure toy line Hasbro has. It has been going on for decades, and it's not slowing down anytime soon because they've got the new classified line, and it is one of the hottest lines Hasbro has. It actually makes more sale than Marvel Legends now, which is unbelievable. You were saying something, Chris?
Action first came out. I even remember some rants that you had about the Target exclusive onlys and how
Oh, it was
such a
painful.
pain they were to get a hold of.
Yeah, the first year was definitely a year that they want to forget because first of all, the first series had like gold and silver bright armor. It looked like space cowboys,
Yeah.
and a lot of people complained. They're like, "What the heck is this? This is not our GI Joe. We want camo. We want darker toned down color. They're not gonna walk in the jungle with gold plated armor. It's stupid, right? So
It's like, here I am, come get me.
you don't see me, silver chrome. Yeah,
Hey,
it
at
was.
least you could blind the person, like catch the sunlight and be like, ha ha ha, my fabulous powers.
or get a fire going in the woods, right? No, so they quickly went and revamped everything and listened to the viewers and the fans, and they toned down everything. They brought it really back to almost a classic look for a lot of the figures.
Yeah.
And I like when action figure companies give you a classic look, but they modernize it a little bit, articulation and some new stuff, right? I mean, we don't really want 80s, like, personally, I don't want exact 80s replica. I would like to have a little bit of an update look to it, right?
Yeah. It took everything that we liked as a kid because I do remember the original toys, and I'll get into a fun story
Yeah.
about that. Um, they were just small little plastic pieces, and you got a couple accessories. Now it's just everything's updated. You
Mhm.
got these really nice guns. You got some pretty awesome features like for Lady J switching out the hair with the hat and
Mhm.
just
Yes, I
the
love that.
accessories.
I love that. The hat looks awesome on her. I love it.
Yeah.
Uh, but GI Joe, it actually goes back more than 50 years ago. It's when Barbie was really popular, and Mattel was looking for a way to. They knew the girl part of toy world was making them a lot of money, but they wanted a boy side to make a lot of money too. So they borrowed one of the Barbie Ken dolls and they made into an army character. And then from there they made a GI Joe, and they're all 12-inch because Barbie used to be 12-inch as well back then.
Yeah.
And it took off because who knew boys want to play with army guys? Wow, what a surprise, right? And it started in the early 60s, I believe, in 63, and they made a ton of money. They were doing really good. I got to say, Dar says hi to us here. I always want to interrupt what I'm saying and to say hi to everybody who comes in. Extra hands, yes. They're working on it. I've seen some characters with extra hand, like actually Rock and Roll has an extra hand. He has a rock and roll hand right there. So yeah, they're working on extra hands. Don't worry, they'll get to you. So yeah, they started with that, and then it declined in the late '60s because of the hippie era of the peace and the Vietnam War. So nobody really wanted to buy our army figures for their kids. So in the '70s, it actually plummeted to the point where the sales kind of were non-existent, and Hasbro got a hold of the licensing, and they wanted to bring in GI Joe, but they didn't know how to do it. So they reached out to Marvel, of all people, and Marvel had an idea to do a comic base. So we've seen Marvel do lots of comics that are not superhero-ish. They're Transformers to
Yeah.
name one. He-Man, they made He-Man comics. So they did a GI Joe comic, and then they also did 30-second bits in on TV. So 30 seconds. Can you imagine watching a GI Joe for 30 seconds only? Like any show for 30 seconds, and it'd be like, oh my god, this is awesome, but we only have 30 seconds. It's like today with shorts and reels. That's what it is,
Oh my
right?
god.
That's what it is. And so they did that. Dart says, but Classified Hasbro best line in my opinion. Absolutely, they're killing it right now. So from there, it got really popular. Comic sales were good. People loved it. The interest peaked up. And so they decided to do Saturday morning cartoons in 1983. I believe they started doing it. 82 is when they started doing the small 30 seconds, and the cartoons started from there. And that catapulted a lot of interest from kids of wanting to buy these toys. So they started making the 3 3/4 inch O-ring characters, which was insane because they had over 200 characters. So GI Joe has around 200 characters. Then you also add in that each of these characters have different terrain outfits: Arctic, desert, jungle, right? So you now have this massive toy line that you could just make a ton of money off. And then you add in vehicles. Like they had helicopters, battleships, tanks. What? Like
They had everything. Like this was definitely, and by the way, you're schooling me everything on GI Joe because it definitely was not a cartoon that I got into. It was too manly.
But you had a brother. Did your brother get into it at all?
Yeah, he was into GI Joes. Same with our one cousin that we used to see a lot of. He had so many of the figures. Yeah.
Did your brother have any vehicles?
But with not that I can remember, but talk about a show where you can utilize everything in the show to make a toy out of and get parents to buy it for their kids. It's like, but in a way, you got to kind of admit that this isn't a bad thing. This is giving parents like, oh, hey, Christmas is coming up. This is out. It's almost like everything we got for Christmas was everything that was released for that year.
Yeah.
Like, the good old days.
So the cartoon, we should talk about the cartoon. We always talking about toys, but we'll mix in because they're so tied together. The figures, the toy, and then the animation is so tied together, right?
Yeah.
So they ran for quite a few years here, and they also had spin-off like the movies. They had spin-offs, and it wasn't like they just did small little movies. They did a big movie that a lot of people liked, and some people actually started not liking it. They didn't like the direction they were going. They're going very alien-esque direction with like snakes from like. So a lot of people were not into that. They wanted it grounded, but it's funny, grounded, right? With the Cobra as a bad guy.
Well, it was the one thing that I do understand about it is it was very reality based. So I can see that they wanted to go a different route and, introduce aliens because, it's not that far-fetched of an idea because any alien things that we deal in real life, it's always the government or the army that's taking care of it. So, I can see where they're trying to go with it, but Was it a great storyline? I don't know.
They started in 1983 and they ended in 1986, very end of 1986. There was 95 episodes made for this show. It's a lot of episodes, and I remember this being on almost the same, like really it was right after Transformers, I believe, for me when I was a kid. And I remember watching them back to it. That hour was like the greatest hour of my life as a kid because there are
Mhm.
two things that I loved. I loved Army guys, and I loved not Army guys, Army figure guys, um, and vehicles that transformed. That's typical for a kid to like, right? Typical.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like that was heaven for me. The only downside for me was I didn't have, well, my mom and dad didn't have a whole lot of money to give me to buy toys. I had a
Mhm.
very limited amount of toys. But one of the toys was rock and roll. It was my only GI Joe I
Nice.
had. It was my only GI Joe. So when this guy came out last month, I was emotional a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I was a little emotional because I remember going to Fields. Do you remember a store called Fields?
Uh,
They were like the poor man's Zellers.
okay, well, we didn't, because I'm back from Ontario.
Okay.
We didn't have Fields. We had Woolco, which I knew was out here, but we also had it's called Byway, and
But
it was like
is it like a poor
buy
man's Zellers in Hudson Bay kind of thing?
yeah, and like you would go down there and it would have like the cheap knockoff toys that you can get, and it was like I've never seen it out here, but I was quite surprised to see it when I went back to Alberta to visit. Giant Tiger was
Yes.
kind of yeah,
In
yeah.
Nova Scotia area, it's pretty big giant tiger.
Oh,
Yeah, when I went down there before COVID, giant tigers, I'm like, what the heck's a giant tiger? Then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, they've been around for a while. Yeah, they're pretty big. But the fields that I went to, it's a small store, and they had steps leading down to a basement. They had two levels,
yeah.
and they had steps down leading to the basement, and it was just toys. It was just
Oh,
toys in the area, filled with toys, and I wasn't allowed to get anything. My mom's like, "We can't afford it. You can't get it." One day, I begged and begged and begged because I saw Rock and Roll with two machine guns. He came with two machine guns. Later on, I was told by Cowabunga, who watches our show all the time, that it was a second version of Rock and Roll. So, because I was like, "Where's this double machine guns?" And then he's like, "This is the first version. The second version comes with the double machine gun." I'm like, "Okay."
okay.
I'm like, "All right." I'm waiting for that one. Make sure that comes out Hasbro because I'm gonna buy probably like two of those. Um, but yeah, I was able to convince her to buy one of those for me, and it was my only GI Joe I had all the way up till I was 12. And then my neighbor, we had moved to a new house, and my neighbor, who was about 3 years older than me, he was about 15, and he was phasing out of the toy scene.
Yeah.
And he had a massive collection of GI Joe, like huge, and he had massive vehicles and everything. And he literally gave it to me for pennies on the dollar.
Oh,
He's like, "You got 50 cents? Okay, here's a helicopter." Like that. So yeah, he was able to. My mom wasn't too happy. I emptied out the piggy bank, but I wanted to catch up. I didn't have a chance to play with these toys. So, and I here's a guy that's giving it to me for like next to nothing, right? And I think for like $20, I got like a whole bunch of GI Joe with like 10 vehicles, tanks, everything.
you know, I believe in the whole like send it out to the universe. You know, you've eventually got that one toy that you really wanted and you were happy with it and you weren't like, I want all this, I want all this, and then this comes around and the guy gives you a whole collection for super cheap. I love stuff like that.
It was so awesome. Like I remember just playing for days, and it's like it was catch up for me. Is basically like I missed out like years of not playing with these awesome toys, and it's like all of it is like just rush. It's like a giant sugar rush, when I got all this, and I wouldn't stop. Like I remember not even going to sleep, right? Like just playing
Yeah.
with because I never got a chance to, right? So, Dar says out here in the States we don't have any of these stores. The comparison I can make for you is think of maybe Fred Meyers, but a smaller version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even like Byway, I don't even think it's around anymore. That was very only in Ontario. And Giant Tiger, it's sprinkled throughout Canada, but
Yeah.
nothing like that here in BC. And right now, with how the dollar stores are going, Dollarama, not a
Yeah.
sponsor, they're actually getting
They're too
some.
cheap.
Yeah, they offered us $1.50, and I'm like, dude, your prices are like $5-6 now.
I know
Um,
Dollarama. What's more like dollars, Rama?
Come on, get with the program. But yeah, Dollarama is starting to get like better quality toys that are like the peg
Mm-hmm.
warmers. So don't feel bad. We don't have it that great here in Canada because we don't always get everything on time, or we're paying double, triple the price.
Oh, we have Toys R Us that's charging us $50 for Marvel Legends Canadian.
You know what's crazy is the Barbie movie is coming out,
Oh
and
yes,
I'm super
Oppenheimer Barbie.
yeah. I'm actually excited about the Barbie movie because I collected them, but like online, I was looking at the dolls are $50, and then frickin' Toys R Us is like, oh, they're $100.
Oh my god.
I'm like, but it's Playline. I won't get into it, but yeah,
Are
that's
you
what
seeing
we
it
get to
opening
deal
weekend?
with.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
I want to hear about it. I want to hear a report on it. Maybe we'll do a little short or something. We'll organize it.
definitely.
I want to definitely hear your review on it.
Uh,
I don't know if Justin is going to see Barbie. I think he's going to see Oppenheimer. What I think is happening, it might happen is the other Chris that we have and Justin, they might go see the movie at the same time, Barbie and Oppenheimer at the same time, and then they're gonna meet in the middle at the end of the movie and talk about their experience. It might happen.
uh,
Who knows?
I did recently go see The Little Mermaid.
How was that?
I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Mm.
The character, she was great. She actually kind of sounded like the original character. I love the two cameos that we got. The fisherman who picks her up out of the water is actually the original voice of Sebastian. And then in the scene when she's in the market and she gets a bowl of food, the woman hands her a fork, and that's actually the original voice of Ariel. So,
Nice.
but it was just, there was a really cringy moment where Eric got to sing his own song, and I'm just like, um,
Maybe not.
those awkward dates that remember awkward dates you go on? That's what it felt like. I'm like, okay, can I just leave now?
Darth says easy pass watching Barbie, but Oppenheimer and MI7 for sure. Yeah, I mean, hey, um, you go. It's your money. Go spend it on what you want to watch. Nobody
Yeah.
can tell you otherwise. There's plenty of movies that have come out that appeases different audiences. That's the whole point.
Mhm.
Having just one type of movie for one type of audience is going to be boring real fast. But getting back into the animation here, so all the GI Joe Army stuff was a lot of people, parents at the time, were kind of saying that this is sort of like recruiting kids into the army and this and that. And I didn't see that as a kid. Like I didn't like, oh, I want to join the army. I was like, no, I don't want to join the army. I see them getting shot at. No thanks. Like, I'm not gonna go deal with Cobra and Serpentor. No thanks.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword on that viewpoint. It's great because it puts out the value of what these people are in the army for. They're fighting for their country. So
Yeah,
it not only gives them like heart and patriotage to their country, but it's also, some people are just watching it for the action, the storyline, the characters. It's nowadays you can never appease anybody. And I feel like GI Joe would definitely be that, oh, well, it's trying to recruit people. Maybe, but like, we need it in this day and age. You know, we don't live in a world peace planet. So, you know, if we have people who are willing to give their lives, no matter what country, I am very thankful for that, because I don't have the courage and these
Yeah.
people do. So
Yeah. If
get
anything,
off your
if anything, this show actually gave more light to the military and what they do on a daily basis, right? For all
yeah.
the civilians. And one of the things I really loved about GI Joe was they went deep in the character description for the figures. When we had the card backs, they would on
Mhm.
the back give you their real name, you know, their civilian name, and then they would give their background on what they went to school for and training for. They laid out a whole story for you in the back, which I thought was cool because now you're taking that to the next level for your imagination for kids. Now they have a story that they can talk about when they're playing with their friends or when they're playing with all their toys. And so that really changed, I think, for a lot of collecting as a kid, to have a story already done for you, laid out for you, right? So I really appreciate that, and boy, did they have different types of amazing characters in the animation. You know, you got your typical all American Duke, you know, with the perfect hair and perfect body and everything, and you know, with the berets and all that stuff. Then you had, Falcon, all these guys. You know, they're typical. But then you had Every Kid Loves a Ninja, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, like arguably so insane. You never see them in the army. Like
Yeah.
unless you're, like you're not gonna see some guy rolling up in a sword in the middle of the army, right? All wearing all black, right, in a bike and a wolf with them. But it was crazy. Like people don't understand. Like if you're new to GI Joe, there's a lot of new collectors coming to GI Joe. They had some of the craziest, wackiest characters,
It
right?
was almost like they did stereotypical characters. And, you know, what a smart way to do it, because that's how humanity is. Like, some people will pick up on, like, yo, dude, the Californians, or I do CrossFit. Look at me. I'm a vegan. Let me tell you about it. You know, it's a smart way to do it, but it's also a great way of saying, you know, this person isn't the way they are just because of that. You know, it's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So, you know, very smart on their part. I have to give it to them.
One of the things I also loved about GI Joe was they did a lot of uh, strong female characters, and I didn't. And when I say that, I don't mean today's so-called strong female characters that shows are trying to portray, where they're able to beat a guy at 6'5" and they're only like 5'4". They can toss them over their hips. Like they were realistic. They used their smarts, like you know Scarlet. She was a good. She was able to penetrate GI bad guys' fortresses because she was intelligent in the way she was a spy. And then you had Baroness, who used disguises to get into the GI Joe compounds and trick. So they used intelligent ways of females. And then you had Lady J, who was respected because she was a higher rank, but she wasn't like talking down to the lower rank characters. There was like equality and balance in the show, and I really, really appreciated that as a young kid. That was one of the shows that I looked at and said, "Oh, females can be awesome too." Right? That's my
Yeah.
introduction. My introduction as a boy, as a kid, to understand that there's equality and there's balance can be had in a show. And I look at today's some of the stuff today, and I'm just like, you're not making it realistic. It's
I,
you know, it's just it's too. You're trying to make females look like they're all steroid juice monkeys.
well, and it's not only that, it's also, you know, like you were saying about G.I. Joe, it was equality.
Yeah.
And I feel like cartoons nowadays and even TV shows have kind of moved away from that. It almost seems like, you know, I'm just looking at it.
Political and agenda driven kind of, yeah.
And I'm again, this is only my opinion, but it feels like they're making it a battle. Like, women are stronger than men, and they're
Yeah.
trying to prove that, especially in the He-Man series. It's just like, you know, yes, women can be strong, but you don't have to prove it. Just if you write it properly,
It blends in.
people, yeah. And GI Joe, from the sound of it, that's what they did. You
Yeah.
know, that's oh my
You
god.
never heard as far as I know, I've never heard anybody talk about the old cartoon and say that, oh, that was woke, or that was, agenda or politically driven. You didn't hear any of that stuff, and that's
Mhm.
because they did it well, right? And even with the action figures that they brought out, they did it well. They did a great job. They kept the character to its core. They didn't change the character. They didn't try to make it, they didn't jack the character up like the She-Hulk or something, right? Like, they kept it to its core. So I appreciate that. And that's just our opinion, anyways, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has their own opinion, but in my opinion, I think they did a good job of balancing everything. The bad guys, well, the bad guys were just out of control. We had Cobra, which never saw his face till the movie. Nobody knew what he looked like. Everybody knew he looked like a cobra inside, but he always covered. There was this controversy with the hood that he had on. People are upset about it. Like, there were some third party companies that made the hood look of Cobra when he didn't have his helmet on, and people are saying it looks like a specific type of group. I don't know. Like, to me, it's just like it's a cover. It's got a Cobra symbol on it.
Yeah,
It's blue.
it was definitely going for a look, but because
Society's very
because of,
sensitive these days.
well, I hate to say it's not society, but it's way too recognizable for the bad that it
Yeah. Represents.
fabric face cover has been used for. So I get it on that aspect. So I wouldn't be mad about it because they had to change it for that reason. And like, come on, you're like this big, huge commander, and all you can use is a freaking piece of fabric to cover your really.
It looked
Really?
good. I don't know. It looked good.
No, it didn't. It's like, look at me, I'm a ghost. Bow.
I loved when
No.
the wind tossed it in the air.
Yeah, he's doing commercials for Pantene, and his like fabric thing is flowing. No, he could do like fabric softener freaking commercials.
You look at to me, G.I. Joe, my hair.
And then Snuggles comes around with a bunch of machine guns.
No, it's Destro in the bear outfit. I got you.
Wink, wink, Hasbro, you got something there.
There you go. The movie itself brought in a whole new like, that was my first introduction to Sergeant Slaughter. That was a genius move. That was a genius move by WWE, Sergeant Slaughter, and Hasbro.
You had me worried. I thought you were talking about the actual live action movie.
No. We'll touch on that in a second. What are you doing? Don't ruin the show. But the movie introduced for me was Sergeant Slaughter, and I know he was in the regular series, but when I saw him, like, wait, this guy was a wrestling character. What? Like, I was like, and it's like, oh my god, like, they brought this guy sort of to life for me, right? Like, and he's like, listen up, maggots. Like, he was like one of those hardcore drill sergeants in the army you always hear about, right? And I loved it because he was just a larger than life character, and he would like take on 50 GI Joe guys by himself.
He made it look effortless. Like, I did watch a few little skits, and he was being attacked by guys, and he's like, whatever, just flipping them over, taking them out, and I'm like, damn right.
And Sergeant Slaughter to this day is still playing the part. There's conventions that he goes to, signs and meets some people. To this day, he is one of the most beloved G.I. Joe characters of all time. And it's so cool that he's embracing it, even at his later days in his life, where he's just like, I'm going to go to conventions. I'm going to go speak to people who love G.I. Joe. I'm going to sign stuff for them, take pictures with them. I think it's so cool. and Hasbro is so lucky. They almost lost him to a third-party company. I don't want to say third-party company. This gentleman has worked hard.
Yeah.
Action Figure Force. He's worked really hard to make some really cool stuff. I have some of his figures, and I think they're awesome. Valverse, shout out to them. No connection to me. Like, I just love his stuff, and I think he does a great job, and he's worked hard at building that brand. But he had Sergeant Slaughter as one of his first shirts before Hasbro brought Sergeant Slaughter back in the fold. He reached out to Sergeant Slaughter and got figures made of his likeness. And then Hasbro's like, "Oh, yeah, we should call this guy because he's really popular." And I'm just like, "What? You didn't think of Sergeant Slaughter when you were making a GI Joe line? What were you doing?" Right? But I guess they called him up and they brought him into the fold, and I think they signed a deal with him to make some figures, and they did make some. They made a Sergeant Slaughter figure, which I have, and it's really, really cool. It's awesome. He's got the upset face, the little grumpy face.
Yes.
He's got a whistle too and everything. But yeah, he was awesome. The other bad guy that I really loved was Serpentor. This guy was sort of like a DNA experiment by Dr. Mindbender. He had Napoleon Dynamite. He had some of the world's craziest baddies in history of the world: Genghis Khan, Napoleon. So he had the genetics of all these horrible, evil people, and put it together, and then made Serpentor. Dr. Mindbender's game was to make somebody that would overthrow Cobra Commander, and be the leader going forward, because they needed someone better and stronger than Cobra. And Serpentor was insane. Seeing this guy in a golden chariot flying down with the Cobra hood.
I'm like, is that Cher?
Do you believe?
Oh my god, wouldn't that be amazing? Takes off the
oh my god, he just
Cher
disco lights just keep coming on, and he's just like, "Do you believe?" He's got the twirl of the gun.
Oh my god.
And then you see that all the henchmen behind him just going like one of these. Oh, for the love of God, somebody's going to clip that in our team and put it up in shorts.
They better, because that was worth it.
Oh my God. Cowabunga Dude says, "Yo, Joe." Cowabunga Dude, how you doing, man? Good morning, if it's morning for you. It's morning for us right now. Dar says, "Interesting. So that's why both Action Figure and Class of It has Sergeant Slaughter." I had no idea. Yeah. He reached out to Bobby from Valverse, reached out to Sergeant Slaughter first, and got a figure made of him, which I have as well. I think I have two versions of him. And then Hasbro's like, "Oh, wait, we should go get this guy because he was one of the biggest G.I. Joe characters." And I was just like, "What? Like, you never thought of that?"
Why are you thinking of this now? It's like
6 series in.
Like, let's make some action figures that are well loved and not choose one of the main characters who were popular in wrestling and a cartoon. Okay.
Yeah. And going back to Sergeant Slaughter, his character actually came out of a heel character. Rest in peace to the jabroni himself. Now I forget the guy's name, but he was he was a villain from the Middle East, right? And Cowabunga Dude, if you know who I'm talking about, the Iron Sheik, that's it. The Iron Sheik was introduced in WWE as a heel, as a villain, and he was so good at it. Like, he was amazing as a bad guy. He really convinced everyone to hate him when he came out and waving I think it was the Iraqi or Iranian flag. And at that time, there was a lot of tension in the Middle East in the 80s. People were really hating on this guy, and they needed a hero. And so that's how Sergeant Slaughter was created. They needed a hero, and an all-American, drill sergeant with the hat and a whistle walks down with the American flag and says, "Listen up, maggots," right? And beating up, a villain like the Iron Sheik. It was so good. Those two were one of the biggest heel and hero storyline that WWE had in the 80s, and it just catapulted to, started to stardom because everybody loved him. He was a beloved hero, right? He's
Yeah.
America's answer to the bad guy, right? And I just, yeah, it's just amazing how that story went into GI Joe in the animation. Um, it just, yeah, I know there was only 95 episodes. I only say only 95, and it spanned
Yeah.
from about 3 years, but it was enough to continue to this day garner massive interest. And then they destroyed it all by having these live movies that Dwayne The Rock Johnson wanted to be in front and center, even though his character was not even front and center. Mr. Rock has to be part of everything. He has to be front and center. Bruce Willis, old man Bruce Willis, was involved as well. And then we had Channing Tatum as well in there. And because it was Hasbro, the budget was really small.
Isn't it always?
Well, they paid all their money to get The Rock in there. I think 50% of the budget went to The Rock.
Hey, do you know how The Rock pees? By the way, here's a dad joke.
His Dwayne Johnson. I just, as soon as you said it, I'm like, wait. Oh, Ray Part 2, yes. Ray Part 2.
But that movie, I remember watching it, and again, not being a huge G.I. Joe fan, I'm like, okay, live action, this should be good. And it's just like, it almost felt like they were focusing more on the storyline of Baroness and her being the sister of one of the main guys from the Joes. And I'm just like,
no,
what is this? Like, I didn't watch the cartoon, and this is a freaking storyline you go off of. Like, why can't you reference any of the 96 freaking episodes that you could have expanded on or actually made into a movie? Don't try and do something new. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Well, that's the problem we have these days now with all the revamping and rebooting and all that stuff, right? There's so much change that you sometimes lose sight of what the original content was about. Like, it's just like, what happened to everything that I liked? Why is it changing? Because Hollywood wants it to, and they're just gonna force it down people's throats, and people are revolting now. The numbers are down. Numbers are down across the board for everything. Like Indiana Jones right now is just tanking hard.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it's hard. I watched it and it's brutal. I did not like that movie at all. I thought it was the worst of all the 5, including Crystal Skull, which I didn't like either.
I like the basis of the movie, but, again, why can't you just... That's the problem with Hollywood. We can't just enjoy what we had and leave it as a classic. There's no imagination anymore. What we're getting for good writing is more so in TV shows. And it's kind of worrying because what is this going to do for the future of Hollywood? Like, are we going to move away from movies and go into more TV shows, which seem to have more complexity and, more of an original storyline? We got to stop rebooting everything.
We gotta get these. Right now, there's a writer strike, so you're not even going to get writers into the room. But Hollywood needs to start paying some really, really important people some good money so they can write some amazing stories and give us some new IPs to drool over. The other advantage of having new IP is you can't say it's woke or it's it's politically driven. If the new IP is brand new and it's giving you a new story, you have to sort of open up and say, okay, let's be honest here. Like, they're making a brand new story and it's not ruining my childhood or it's not changing something that I used to watch. It's brand new. And that's the advantage you'll have if you make new IP, which I don't understand why they don't want to do. Like, it's crazy. Why do you want to go tap into people's history and ruin it for them and then they get angry at you?
Because for them, spending that money, it's a 50-50 chance. And it's a game that they don't want to play. Yet they'll still risk everything on taking a story that's, 30 years old and expanding on that, and it's a fail, it's a flop,
Yeah.
and the fans are pissed. But the problem is there's no imagination anymore. Like
Yeah, we
we're
lost a lot of
losing,
that. Yeah.
and I'm going to recommend something because it kind of plays off what we're talking about today. And I think a while ago I told you about this. If you guys have Netflix, go check out Welcome to Marwin. It's a movie with Steve Carell in it,
Yes.
and he
Beautiful
played
movie.
it so well. And it's a fun movie because he has these G.I. Joe figures, like the 12-inch ones, and Barbie. And it's all about like kind of toy photography, but it's also, there's a deeper storyline in there. And I just got to say, that is great writing. Like it took something like
Yeah.
Toy Story, but brought it to life. But like it's completely separate. You cannot connect it. There's a meaning behind it, and it's like you want to watch it again and again. So
Yeah.
go check it out. Netflix. Welcome to Marwin.
It's also a good way to kind of show people, like, I get this all the time when I have friends or family come over. It's like, you still collect action figures? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? They're like, you're an adult. I'm like, okay, what's your point again? I'm like, if it makes me happy, what is it to you? Right. And a movie like that is, yeah, there you go. It makes you happy. That might be worth a lot of money down the road. So keep that sealed.
Oh yeah.
I know Barbie collectors, they cash in big time.
Dude, when I collected Barbies, I had the Medusa Barbie,
Oh, really?
and that, if you Google or eBay that doll, you'd be like, I'd be sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Some of that stuff, like, it's ridiculous how much they go for. There are some
Yeah,
hardcore collectors in the Barbie world. Hardcore. Like, people think
definitely.
Marvel Legends is popular. No, 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 no. No.
There's that's how toy collecting is also changing. It's like the value isn't necessarily there anymore. Marvel Legends, because they start re-releasing the figure that was released in a set, there's no value there anymore. And which, it's kind of nice because let's focus on collecting what we love. We're doing it because we love it. Everyone should be able to experience it, not like I can only experience it if I have thousands of dollars to buy that figure or
Yeah.
something. With Barbie, it's different because, it was such a statement at the time when she came out. And yeah, some of them were really good, but Legends aren't going to reach that unless
Nah.
they're the HasLab, which they will only make so many of.
Yeah. If it's very limited and it's very expensive to begin with, then yeah, it could reach those heights, but not really. The most I've seen a legend go for, that's a single figure, is probably 150, I think.
Yeah.
But that was the most, yeah. Dar says, I preferred the sequel, but both are better than the Snake. Oh god, the Snake Eye movie that came out a few years back was horrible. It was horrible. Like, Snake Eyes is not supposed to be talking. I know they're all, oh, it's a prequel to the Snake Eyes origin. Nope. That dude should not be talking, man. I don't care. Don't make a movie if he's talking in there. Just don't.
Okay, here's the thing. If he didn't talk, his wage would go down
Yeah.
because he had lines. That's the reason why. And it's just
Yeah.
like, you know what? Get someone who's new, who no one knows about.
Well, even
And
that,
this,
but the guy who plays Snake Eyes, he was fairly new. I think he only had a
oh,
couple of other stuff that he did, but he was fairly raw in Hollywood. And yeah, I get it. That guy wants to build his portfolio and do bigger movies. I understand it's a career.
yeah.
To him, it's not like, hey, I'm a Snake Eyes fan, I'll do this for free. No, he's gonna have a career that he wants to flourish. But you gotta like be, I don't know what it's like. You maybe do CGI or something. I don't know. Like do an animation then. Like, if you want to do live action, some of these people have to suck it up. I mean, there's an example in the TV show The Boys on
Yeah.
Amazon. there is a Snake Eyes wannabe in there. He looks exactly like Snake Eyes, and he doesn't even talk either.
Oh, well, dude, look at 80s horror. We got Jason Voorhees, and we also have Michael Myers. You know, they only had an actor play them, didn't have to talk or anything.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, if somebody's gonna do it. Somebody will do it, right?
yeah.
And you can tell the guy, hey, listen, you're not talking, but we'll give you some money to cover for that, and just do awesome martial arts. People love that stuff. There you
Yeah.
go, right?
And like nowadays, you know, sorry, going back on those two characters, they call them the shape because they don't have a specific character. So, you know, when something becomes so big and iconic and conventions come around, you know, those characters who played those shapes with no lines whatsoever are very popular with the fans because they were a character that is so beloved. And if the character is well enough off, doesn't necessarily have to speak. So, you know, it's stop trying to make something happen that's not meant to happen.
I don't know if Hasbro's gonna. Well, I don't want to spoil stuff for people. They are gonna make another run for GI Joe. I'm not gonna spoil that because I'll wait till maybe this is a perfect time to talk about our little hiatus here, I guess. Yeah, Darth goes Black Noir. Yeah, he was basically Snake Eyes, another version of Snake. But the guy never talked in the entire series, not once. He just hand gestures and like fighting scenes, and that's it. Shook his head a couple of times. That's about it. And people love that character. Mayfex made a figure of him, right? So, well, making a figure of him. But what I was gonna say, I honestly like the movies. They need to like Hasbro needs to understand if you don't put money into these movies, it's gonna flop, right? It's you can't cheap out on these things. Otherwise, don't make it.
And
Don't make
it's
it.
not, and you know, the problem is it's not always about star power. You don't always have to have.
Oh, sorry, he spoke before his fight. But was that the first time I think he spoke is when he about to die. So that's okay. You can allow him to talk before he gets his head cut off.
He's like, it's gonna happen. Might as well. Bye.
You were saying something.
I was, but kind of lost what I was talking about.
I was just saying that don't save the money and do a proper budget of making a movie. Having said that, though, a GI Joe movie is on the way. I'm kind of disappointed in how they went about doing this, and we'll talk about it maybe when we come back. So, big news from us is just like the cartoons, they had reruns in the summer. So, next 2 weeks from now will be our season finale episode. We're gonna do a wrap up show, talk about some of the shows that we talked about this year. Maybe pick our favorite of the bunch.
Maybe
Just
some
kind of
things we missed about talking about.
It's a chance for everybody that watches our show, whether it be live or on a replay, to come in and kind of give your take on what you guys thought of our first season of Mighty Mornings. We didn't know what to expect from this or how to go about it. We just kind of said, let's just do it and we'll figure things on the way, like how we go about it. Like we first wanted to talk about some of these big shows, and then down the road we wanted to go back and do an episode, a favorite episode, etc., kind of thing, to give it more life, to continue some of the shows. We didn't want to do a one-off of Scooby-Doo or Transformers or Gem. We wanted to continue those down the road, but we wanted to bring some of these shows to life first. And so I think next year, which will come back in September after the Labor Day weekend, so it'll be the second week of September. We will announce it anyways on our social media handle, which you guys should be following too as well.
Yes.
It's at the bottom right there at ANR Universe, and we'll let you guys know when the show is back, and then we'll also put it up on YouTube. But yeah, 2 weeks from now will be our season finale, and then we're gonna have the new season in September. Also, you guys can let us know what shows you want us to talk about. It doesn't have to be cartoons. It could be any show that was in the 80s and 90s that you watched as a kid, right? So let
Maybe
us know.
even a movie.
Yeah, why
Love
not?
talking about movies.
Yeah. So let us know in the feedback. We definitely want feedback from you guys. What did you guys think of this Mighty Mornings? Did you guys like it? What do you want us to add to the show? We would definitely want to have some feedback so we can improve on season 2 of our Mighty Mornings show. Was there anything else? I honestly, GI Joe is a great way to kind of end our talks of these figures because it's a big IP. Next week we'll circle back and talk about some of the stuff that we did. I hope everybody out there joins us if you can live. I know it's 8:30 in the morning Pacific time, but it's noon in the Eastern Seaboard. You're up, you're ready to go. It's a Saturday. You can hang out with us for about an hour. But
And if you miss a live show, you can come back and watch it.
Cast the replay. One big thing I really would appreciate everybody that watches all of our shows, whether it be A&R Weekly, Popcorn Chicken, or Mighty Morning, please hit the like button. It really, really helps us out. It sends it out to the algorithm and to introduce it to other people out there who don't know about us. It makes a big difference. It takes a second for you guys just to click it. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I don't know what you're doing. Do it, because if you're a member of our crew, our A&R army here, we're going to be giving away stuff randomly to people. And one more plug. We got a gaming channel, AGR, Astonishing Game Reviews. Our buddy Justin is playing like 30, 40 hours a week.
Oh my God.
He's insane. He'll play like 7-8 hours straight of a video game. Right now he's playing the very popular Zelda game, and he's doing some amazing stuff on there. So if you love Zelda, go check it out. We're giving an Xbox away in there once we hit a certain number.
What?
So yeah, we're giving an Xbox.
I quit and I'll become a subscriber.
Dar says, Alvin, I love and support A&R. This includes Mighty Morning Keep Up. You know what? Me and Chris, we both appreciate you, Darth. You've been there since day one. Same with Cowabunga Dude and some of the other people out there. We really appreciate each and every one of you guys for supporting us. Even coming by and saying hello for a few minutes makes a big difference for us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
It's because of you guys. Like, this was just an idea. You guys, when you come in and interact with us, we love it.
Yeah.
It pushes us to do more. Okay, let's go further. How can we improve? So
yeah, feedback's so important
because of you guys. So thank you so much.
I don't get up early in the morning for nobody, but I'm getting up for you guys here. My family's very supportive of us. We do it bi-weekly because me and Chris have a busy schedule, and we do have things to do. And he's got a cat that needs attention all the time. I've got a dog needs attention all the time. This morning she wouldn't get off my thigh. She's like, "Nope, I'm sleeping in. You're sleeping in too." I'm like, "No, I got to do a show." And she's like, "Fine." And she just gave me the look, right?
You should bring her on camera next the final. I'll show.
How about we do a pet state next?
Okay, you know what? Yes, because when I used to do the weekly, I showed off Charlie. So I need to show off Charlie to you guys. You can see my.
I'll bring Coco and you bring Charlie. And
oh my God, what a gay name!
Hey, I appreciate that. Actually, my wife named her, not me. So I bought it from my wife as a gift.
Yeah. She brought him home, and you're like, let's call her Coco. I'm gonna bring her.
Anyways, that's it for the show today, people. I've had big dogs all my life, so my wife was scared of big dogs, so I had to start off with a small dog. So she's a small dog. She doesn't shed, which is a plus. Thank God. I used to have a wolf, Arctic Timber Wolf, when I was a kid. I named him Rambo, and I had him, and he was like Snake Eyes Timberwolf size. He was a big dog. Like, you take a dog for a walk, you used to take me for a walk, right? So I love all kinds of dogs, whether it be small or big. I love them. Dogs are amazing. They're unconditional love. All pets are pretty much, unless you got a crocodile, will probably eat you. But cats, birds, fish, I love pets. I enjoy all kinds. I had rabbits or bunnies before when I was younger, but we'll bring our pets in. I don't know how long she's gonna last in my lap because she's like 1 year old and she just wants to explore the world.
Yeah.
Yesterday she was chasing bees in the yard. I'm like, you can't catch them.
Oh my
Well,
god.
but she tried.
Have you ever seen a dog who tried eating a bee? His poor little face was all puffy. It was still
Oh.
cute, but like, I'm sure it's not, pleasant.
What is pleasant is we'll be back in 2 weeks doing a recap of this awesome show. But like I said, thank you so much, everybody that tunes in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Chris, say bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us. And
I have a feeling Captain Planet will be your favorite one.